This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're gonna acknowledge me.
And Seth Rollins retains the World Heavyweight Championship, as we all knew he would, but it was a matter of how. And we got a pretty clever ending. An ending that did not involve Braun Breaker, although he had a crazy impactful night. We'll talk about that, and Roman Reigns and that whole injury and Paul Heyman a little bit later. It wasn't because of Bronson Reed, wasn't because of Paul Heyman. It was because of Seth Rollins' wife, Becky Lynch, and her coming in a black hooded sweatshirt and sweatpants, low-blowing CM Punk, helping Seth Rollins retain the world title after Seth just said he didn't need anyone. And lo and behold, Becky Lynch comes to his aid in a turn that I didn't see that coming. We all knew he was going to, but it was really just a matter of how, and we got the answer. An answer I liked, as I said. I liked it because not only did we not see it coming for most of us, but it brings Becky and Rollins' story together in a way that actually makes sense here as a heel team. Because I don't believe they've been on screen as a heel team. Now, they have been a babyface team on screen several years ago when, believe it or not, they faced, I think it was Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin, if I somehow remember that correctly. But that was about 7 years ago. And now, while their chemistry was god-awful on screen as a babyface couple 7 years ago, hopefully, as a heel team, if they are going to temporarily have a on-screen story where their stories merge for just a little bit, then this was a good way to bring it in. And again, I think this will be a better version of these two, a more tolerable version of them than, again, the 7 years ago version. Now, to me, the most exciting part of this was not even the Becky Lynch on-screen interaction with her husband's story, but what comes next, you could argue, is the strongest evidence for an AJ Lee return that we've had since she left, however many years ago it was, a dozen years ago. So, could this lead to an AJ Lee CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch tag team matchup? Absolutely. It could. That seems to be where they're headed, actually. I mean, I don't see another scenario. You could have Punk, I guess, team up with, Nikki Bella. I guess you could. And then have, Nikki and Punk versus Becky and Seth. But come on. If AJ Lee is going to have just a one-match comeback, this is the time to do it. I've been watching her Instagram over the last couple of weeks just to see what's been going on. And she looks like she's in shape. Now, is she ring shape? Only she knows that. But if there's ever a time, now is the time. And if they're going to ever have a bigger stage, at least in the next couple of months, there's no bigger stage than the first PLE on ESPN that they are looking to make huge. Much like their first Raw on Netflix. That was unfortunately a very corporate show and much less a wrestling show. But they're trying to make an impact, make some noise. They cannot have the WrestlePalooza PLE in 3 weeks just be another PLE. It sounds hokey. I hate the name. I wish it was named something else. I might even take Great Balls of Fire over this. I'm half joking. And they want to make it impactful. Again, they don't want this to just be, even though the name is terrible, just another PLE that's kind of a throwaway and you forget about it in 2 days. So with big things happening, my guess is the card so far is lined up as Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, although we didn't see Brock last night, or today actually, and probably AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Now, how do they set this up? Here's how I think they do it. We could have Nikki Bella, say that he'll team with Punk and take those two on and be his partner. Becky Lynch injures, quote unquote, Nikki Bella. Looks like Punk is going to have to go it alone against those two, although Becky should be absolutely no threat to CM Punk because he's a man and she's a woman, but I guess these days we're not supposed to recognize biological realities or differences, but I'm going to because I like to live in the world of reality. But that would be the idea. It's like, okay, he's going to be in a handicap match, and then out comes his wife. He has a contingency plan where AJ Lee is his partner. Now, they've only got 3 weeks. There is not much time to build. So does AJ Lee, if they're going to do this, pop up on Raw tomorrow night? Maybe. Hell, they're in a place where absolutely everything gets a reaction all the time. And I'm going to talk about the crowd next and let you guys know personally what I think about the crowd. But this is a story to me. While again, we'll dive into the main event and all the good parts and bad parts of that and everything else that happened. But this is where I think it's headed, and I'm excited for it because I'm just like you guys, likely looking for an AJ Lee return. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You could substitute Nikki Bella in, but it just makes sense if you're going to have Becky there to bring in AJ Lee if she has the desire to. So that is that. One more thing before I talk about the crowd. Join us on Patreon because it's a great place to go during all this wrestling craziness as we head now into the latter part of the year. We're heading into fall. Summer is done. It's over with. By the time you guys listen to this, it's probably already September, which means, yeah, summer's done, at least in the northern part of the United States. And hey, it's time for football. It's time for Major League Baseball playoffs. It's time for leaves to fall and air to get cooler and all the rest of it here, which is a good time of year. And it also means we are headed into Survivor Series season soon enough. And before you know it, Rumble, they already brought up the Rumble they already brought the Rumble up on the PLE today and talked about how, their schedule for the PLE is leading up to the Rumble is going to be in France and Europe. They're going to have a 2-week tour again in France and Europe and Ireland. I forget the other names in there. I forget. Was one Poland? Might have been Poland too. Crazy. But they're certainly implementing a much more global strategy than Vince McMahon ever did with live events. So, I mean, hey, they're a business. I have no objections to it. But speaking of the international crowd, now I know a lot of you think I'm going to crap on the crowd. And I don't know if I really crap on them. It's simply and I've recognized this as a difference in culture. It's a difference in culture. I'm sure that the people over there think that our crowds suck. And from a United States perspective, while the noise level is, it's certainly exceeds what we provide on a constant basis. It's almost too much of a distraction. It feels like everything has to be a song. Everything has to be some kind of, customized, sing along that they all have. And it's not my cup of tea. And I appreciate the passion. I certainly couldn't stand there for as many hours as they do and have the energy, the sustained energy level that they do. So hats off to everyone in, the overseas crowds everywhere from, Europe, or rather Europe, England and the UK to obviously Puerto Rico when they go there. And now they're over in, they went to Birmingham and they went to Scotland and everywhere that's over, everywhere that's across the Atlantic Ocean. We certainly cannot match your energy level on a consistent basis, but I would argue that there's no like letdown. It's just a constant level of noise. There's no like let me down moments. Let me breathe a bit and pay attention to what's going on in the ring instead of what the hell are we chanting now? Instead of just kind of, everything's a song and it's just, okay, can we stop singing? Stop singing. Can I just watch wrestling? Why don't we react to the actual moves in the match? And instead of singing Roman Reigns, just, it's, again, a difference in culture, and that's all it is. It's not better or worse. It's just an objective observation. So I know I have a lot of fans over there. I've got, some people that are in France that listen to the show quite often. I know they do, and I appreciate that. So I'm not sitting here going, oh, the U.S. is boring or, it's simply that. That's all it is. It's just not my cup of tea. Just like you guys look at us and say, hey, you guys put me to sleep, which some of the crowds, I admit, do. No doubt about it. Some of our crowds I admit, are just awful, including my own hometown at times. Okay. My own hometown at times is just pitiful. Sometimes we're hot, but I'd say we're like an average wrestling crowd in the United States. But yeah, anyway, the crowd is still, it's just not my favorite. So let's move on. All right. Well, beyond the ad-free stuff, let's talk about the actual PLE. And let's start with Bronson Reed and Roman Reigns. This matchup, as I stated before this match even took place, is the biggest match that Bronson Reed has ever had to date. And this is about him. And he should win this, but if he doesn't, he should get heat on the back end. Well, that is that's what happened. Option number 2. Option number 2, door number 2, is Bronson Reed lost, but we quickly forget about the loss and have Bronson Reed immediately get a ton of heat back, including Braun Breaker, who is now going to be in the sights of Roman Reigns. Let's make no mistake about that. Roman Reigns is now going to target Bronson Reed, even though, Braun Breaker, not Bronson Reed, although he'll target him as well. But Braun Breaker coming out and doing the multiple spears that he does. Roman Reigns will come back. He has been written off, I would imagine, for the next several weeks, but we didn't need a storyline to tell us that. We kind of just know he's going to do that anyway. But at least now that he's off TV, we can go, okay, hey, remember, it's not just him taking time off, although that's all it is. It is a setup for Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns, maybe at WrestlePalooza. Or it could be down the line. Again, I'm looking to WrestlePalooza only because even though it's a short turnaround, WWE want this to be a massive PLE. They need to make a big splash on ESPN. Yes, they're going head-to-head with AEW. That certainly I don't think is by accident. But more importantly for the company, this is dipping their toe in for the first time onto ESPN for PLEs. So dig into your wallet, folks. There's another subscription we all gotta eat up, and I think it's $20 a month, which is not fun. But I think a lot of us will just grit our teeth and say, damn it, and we're just gonna do it. And I think that's probably what we'll do. But let's get into the match here. This match did go a total of 22 minutes. I didn't think it would go that long. 22 minutes and 5 seconds. And I like the pacing of this match. The pacing of this match was much more, for me, my own personal taste. And while everyone seems to be going 85 miles an hour in their matches and just trying to do flips and flops and do crazy maneuvers and reversals and how many kickouts of finishes, which we did unfortunately get tonight with just too many damn finisher kickouts. I will continue to say that, and I will not get used to it or concede to that. But this was, by all means, a nice paced match because of the size of these men. That's what limited them here, but I would say it's not a limitation. It's an asset. And Bronson Reed doing the suicide dive through the ropes was unnecessary but impressive. His tsunamis, that's a great finish. It's a great name for a finish too. It's also a very safe finish. Obviously the impact, 95% of it is on his hands and knees. So you can easily tsunami your opponent without actually even having them feel it. So it's a great finish by all accounts. And having Reigns go for a spear, Reed catches him. And then again, he hits him with a suicide dive. That was the spot. And Reigns went for a spear, but then Reed caught him and hit a sit-down powerbomb. That was a good near fall. We had then Roman go up top, or Reed go up top, and then Reigns cut him off with a Superman punch, and then Reigns followed up with another Superman punch and a Samoan drop from the second rope, which was pretty damn cool, and having him hit a spear, and that was enough for the victory here in 22 minutes. And Roman Reigns wins, but that wasn't the end of it, because we had Roman Reigns choke out Paul Heyman, and we had Heyman give Reigns the Shuafala, and then he put Paul Heyman in the guillotine until Heyman fell over, and that's when we had Jelly Roll. He was, Braun Breaker showed up out of nowhere. He speared Reigns through the commentary table. And then Jelly Roll was shown. He was looking concerned because for some reason Jelly Roll just needs to be a part of every future WWE show, which I don't want. But then we continue to have more beatdown of Roman and a tsunami on Roman. A stretcher comes out, and we have Reigns strapped to the stretcher, and that's when Roman got another tsunami, which was pretty brutal. And Jey Uso comes out, chased the heels away. Uso took a spear. Reed went back up, hit another tsunami, and that was that. So this was pretty long here. I mean, it was, as I read this review, it was 52 minutes. 52 minutes between all of this nonsense going on, and between the intros and the video packages and the actual match and the aftermath of this. So this took a long time. But again, I think this was a big night for Breakker, who is setting himself up nicely for a matchup with Roman Reigns. As always, Adam Pearce blows a gasket, yelling at Reed and Breakker, and he kicked the Vision members out of the building and said if he sees them later, he'll suspend them both indefinitely without pay. So there you go. You're thinking, all right, Seth Rollins is on his own. He'll still retain, but it's going to be interesting to see exactly how he does. Paul Heyman's incapacitated. He's at the hospital. We have, again, Breakker and Bronson Reed both banned from the building. So it's like, okay, Seth has no more allies. Or so we thought. So then we get the Street Profits taking on Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy for the WWE Tag Team titles. This one, this one could have gone either way. It didn't make a whole bunch of noise when it was announced because it was a last minute addition to the show. But I think it was a solid wrestling match that the crowd was trying their best to get into. It lasted 13 minutes with Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy retaining the tag titles. The finish was Dawkins hitting a spine buster, tags in Ford, but Ford missed the frog splash. Things then broke down after Gacy slammed Lumis onto Ford. Dawkins broke up a pin attempt, and all four wrestlers were down. Gacy and Lumis were on the outside, and Dawkins shoulder tackled Gacy, and then Rowan distracted Dawkins, and Lumis shoved Dawkins into the crowd. Ford followed up by leaping over the ring post, taking out Rowan and Lumis with the ref distracted. Uncle Howdy hit Sister Abigail on Ford on the outside, and then Gacy and Lumis followed up that by hitting the Plague on Ford and got the victory. So, yeah, again, was this worthy of being on the event? I mean, I think, I don't know if worthy is the right word. I think it was needed. Those don't have to be mutually exclusive here. I mean, this was more needed than deserving. Needed for eyeballs on both of these guys, or both teams, I should say, all four men, all five men in this case. I think this was needed. And I think they delivered on what you thought they would. And having the Wide Six group retain is fine. That would tell me, though, I hope they have more in mind for this group. We need more. I went on a rant about that a couple of nights ago, and I won't rehash that. But all right. So here we go. Match number 3. Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. Okay, let me just say, this match overall I thought was actually okay. Was it as good as Lyra Becky from just a wrestling perspective? No. But I don't think anyone thought it would be. Now, from a storyline and chemistry and promo perspective, it blew Lyra and Becky out of the water. But though you knew the wrestling was going to probably fall short because of Nikki's, her shortcomings in the ring compared to the women that we have today and what they're capable of. And Nikki Bella, I loved how, was it Wade Barrett who called her the face of the Divas era? Thank you. Whoever did that. I think it was Barrett. Yes, she is. That's exactly what she is. Which is why she's not deserving of any title of being a trailblazer. They were the neutered version of the women in the Attitude Era. So, that said, Nikki, I think, did fine in the ring. I know you're thinking, what about the botch? Well, let me just say this, and I'm not coming to the defense of Nikki. I'm no fan of Nikki Bella, really on almost any level. But things happen. Okay? Things do happen in the ring. Botches happen in the ring. Missteps happen in the ring. We saw it even with Rusev and Sheamus. We saw it in almost every match has some kind of slip up or miss or not well executed maneuver. It's inevitable. But while botches happen, and I'm sympathetic to that, and they do the best they can, this was a botch that was inexcusably bad. Did it ruin the match? No, but because, again, I'm giving both women credit for doing the best they could. But it will be what people remember coming out of it. And that's unfortunate for Nikki. Who's this mostly on? I would honestly put it about 75% on Nikki Bella, 25% on Becky. Because Becky probably should have been where she was at when she was supposed to be in her spot to take the kick off the rope. And she wasn't in her spot. That said, the majority of blame goes on Nikki because she should have actually looked to see where Becky was positioned in the ring to see if she should just go up and do the kick. She shouldn't have just assumed that blindly without looking that Becky would be there for the timely kick. So I think the majority of it goes on Nikki. And the 25% goes to Becky again for not getting into a position maybe where Nikki thought she would be at that very, very time. But more importantly, the 25% for Becky comes for actually selling a move that was 4 feet from her face. That is where the crime is for Becky. Not so much even the timing, because your opponent should use their eyeballs and see if you're even there to take the kick. So that, again, the majority does fall on Nikki without question. But for Becky Lynch to sell a move that was a mile away from her was embarrassingly bad. I don't care if she stepped back, but she actually sold it. Now, her muscle memory is such that you sell anything that's even kind of close to, you do the best you can to deodorize the F up. And I get that. I'm not faulting people for doing that. And Michael Cole will then try to cover by saying, I don't know if they got all of it. In this case, the announcers can't say it. They can't even pretend. You can't. You have to just go, she wasn't even close. You have to say that. So the announcers aren't going to cover for you because it's so egregiously bad. Becky Lynch missed her position, but Nikki should have seen where Becky was before she tried to kick. But Becky selling something that was so far away was just so bad. Just so bad. It was just so bad. Go and watch that in slow-mo. It'll make you shake your head. So, hey, that's all the time I'm going to spend on that. That said, we did have Becky Lynch get the victory in a kind of fluky way, which I thought was not needed. But she did retain in 13 minutes with the roll-up there. All right. We then go on to Sheamus and Rusev in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. Now, there were some botches in this one. Nothing as egregiously bad as the Nikki Bella kick. But there were some missed spots, and I think some of it was due to exhaustion. But these two did exactly what you thought they would do. Beat the holy hell out of each other. And I give nothing but credit to these two men. Nothing but respect to these two men. It felt like they were a holdover of the PG era. Because Sheamus and Rusev, if you look back at their history, it's extensive. I mean, it's like 10 years long of friends and not friends. And then, they go a while and then feud again. And there's a lot. So they have a long history, but it feels very much like this is a throwback to the kind of boring era of wrestling. During the PG era, they're like some of the faces of that era. Not a bad era, just looking back, it was kind of at times a very inconsistent and boring era. There were periods of that. And Sheamus and Rusev here killed it, though. I think they even exceeded my expectations. They did what I thought they would do in killing each other, but they went above and beyond with what they did. I mean, the bumps they took, Sheamus being put through the bar stand or whatever it was, and hitting the back of his head on the frame of said bar stand was a little bit concerning. The referee going there, you could see to make sure that as the wrestler is selling, that they're squeezing the hand of the ref to let them know they're okay. If you didn't know, obviously, a lot of people know that. But if you didn't, that's what the referees do when there's a bump that, you want to make sure that individual's okay. You go over and they're supposed to squeeze your hand. If they don't squeeze your hand, that means you're not okay. So, Sheamus was doing that. He seemed all right. But as Wade Barrett pointed out, hey, this is going to be a time when both men rolling out of bed tomorrow morning are going to be exceedingly sore. And yes, they are. And what was a stat that Michael Cole brought up about Sheamus only tapping out twice. There was some other stat that he brought up that I just the stats Michael Cole comes up with is just so impressive. I love the stuff he does and the homework that he does ahead of his matches. But this was a physical match with kendo sticks, as expected. The shillelagh, the very, very long shillelagh, chairs, of course, tables, Slim Jim tables only. Can't be any other kind of table. It must be a branded advertiser, sponsor, paid for table that can be broken. No other tables are allowed. Maybe the announce table get in that too. The announce table was very active as well. Very, very big bump spot there. And this was, it was great. I mean, the match here, this is a perfect example of a match that you aren't really interested going in. You're like, it'll be a solid match. But as it goes on at about 10 minutes in, you're like, all right, they kind of got me here because it's ramping up. And the near fall that Sheamus and Rusev had with the brogue kick was excellent because I'm thinking that's it. I mean, I would have put a significant amount of money when Sheamus hit the brogue kick towards like 15, 16 minutes in. I'm like, all right, that's it. Great finish, guys. Awesome. And when he kicked out, when Rusev kicked out, I go, what? Even the crowd was like, what? Because number one, the brogue kick is not exactly a finish that is ever kicked out of much. It's one of the few somewhat protected finishes, and you just never see someone kick out of it. And it was a time where, they'd already beaten the hell out of each other, and you're thinking, all right, cool, guys, let's just go, bring it to the finishing sequence. And they did, and you're thinking, all right, that's it. So whoever came up with that particular spot deserves some credit. It was a very, very believable false finish with the brogue kick. But then the next near fall with the shillelagh across Sheamus's back was another nice false near fall. And the accolade and the shillelagh was, of course, the finish with Sheamus tapping out only for the second time, which is pretty damn cool. Again, this match was much more of a breath of fresh air from Nikki and Becky. Again, no disrespect to Nikki and Becky, but this was just an old school brawl, and it brought you kind of back into the game. Now, following up here, one last thing on Becky and Nikki while I was thinking about it. The only other criticism I can give this match, spot-wise, beyond the botch, were the announce table headshots, quote-unquote, that Nikki was giving Becky, where she was slamming Becky's head into the table. They looked horrendous, and that's on Becky. That's 100% on Becky Lynch. So that's no fault of Nikki, who was being aggressive and going after Becky and slamming her head into the announce table. I don't even know how many times, probably 15 times. But every one of them looked horrible. Why did they look horrible? Because Becky was clearly using her arms to break the hit and break the fall, so to speak. And I know that's what you're supposed to do, but at least you're supposed to kind of make it look like you're not doing that. And Becky Lynch was, it was just, I don't know what it was. That particular sequence there, that was just a bad job on Becky Lynch's part, which, again, I need to point it out because I've never seen that many announce table headshots, that many poorly executed in a row. So I got to call a spade a spade. Despite all that, I still actually thought the match wasn't terrible. But all right, back to Sheamus and Rusev. Sheamus loses to Rusev in 20 minutes. And it was just a beautifully executed matchup, which makes you wonder, is this going to do anything for Rusev? I don't know. I said before the match in my prediction show that this is going to, be a kind of temperature gauge into who they might do something with over the coming months. And hopefully they do something with Rusev that is more than just, him and saying 5 words on a pre-taped promo there's actually some kind of substance behind what they're going to do with him, perhaps. We'll see if that materializes. All right. We then had John Cena, Logan Paul. The match went 26 minutes. This match I thought was just so damn good. Was it a 5-star match? No. Did they, I think, give us a match as good as you possibly could have? Yes, they did. These guys meshed well. Was there some poorly executed spots? Sure. Some of the spots were, a little bit sloppy, but with what the level of effort they put into this and the exhaustion level on both men's parts were, I can't blame them. But this was just well done. Well done by both men. John Cena getting the victory was it the right call? I propose that Logan wins, but if John Cena is going to lose to Brock Lesnar in 3 weeks at WrestlePalooza, then you got to give John a victory here. But if anybody wants to see just a textbook example of knowing how to win in a loss, this is it. While Logan Paul didn't win, he will be remembered for this match and the effort that he brought to it. The spotlight on him, when it's on, he delivers. He continues to overachieve in the ring. He continues to show you that he respects this business with the amount of effort and crazy maneuvers and life-risking maneuvers that he puts onto himself. The things that he does, the things he's capable of doing are pretty insane. The stamina he has. He's got youth by his side, no doubt. He's right now in a great position in WWE, and sure, for 26 matches now, whatever it is, he shouldn't be as good as he is. John Cena held up his end. He did the, what did he do? Code Red or the Pop Rocks or whatever they want to call it. Was not the Canadian Destroyer, but it was a very, very well done maneuver by John Cena. He had a Frankensteiner again in Code Red, and we had Cena go for the AA and did probably too many AAs. Okay, maybe that's the one criticism of this match, like so many John Cena matches, is the AA has been reduced to rubble at this point. In terms of effectiveness, the AA has been, it is at this point about as effective as a Crossroads is. It's just so pathetic how many times people kick out of the AA. And I would like them to not do that, because even the announcers don't even pretend to get excited. And that's saying something. But there was a ton of kickouts of AAs. He, tried to AA him, I think, 14 times. But this was a very well executed matchup. The Logan Paul, he did a frog splash. Didn't John Cena, I think John Cena hit a tornado DDT at one point, and having Logan Paul kick out of that. The 5-knuckle shuffle that Logan Paul did took way too long. I will say that. The Cesaro uppercut that he tried, that Logan Paul tried on John Cena, it wasn't, again, this is an example of a small botch. Wasn't well executed, but it was still one that I have never seen anyone try to do on John Cena. Maybe Cesaro did it himself, but this was a really fun matchup, and one that, again, is going to be remembered for Logan Paul's effort and for John Cena just being able to say goodbye in a fun way. I was waiting for the Brock Lesnar music, like many of you, during or just after the victory, but we didn't get it. And that's okay, because Brock Lesnar could be in town tomorrow night for Raw. Could be. We will see. All right. Let's continue. We had Seth Rollins then talk about how he doesn't need anybody. A really good promo, though. Really good promo. He said that the world thinks he's at a disadvantage, but then he asked Jackie Redmond if she remembered who won the main event of WrestleMania and said he never needed anyone. He's a multi-time world champion. Well, I mean, I don't know about that, Seth, because you won as a direct result of Paul Heyman, but hey, sure. So, but fun. A really good promo from Seth. Strong promo. Michael Cole reminded us that Heyman and Reigns are in the hospital. I wonder if they got adjoining beds. And then Reed and Breaker were kicked out of the building, kind of reminding us that Seth doesn't have his backup, or at least the backup we knew about. So then we get the main event. Jey Uso, LA Knight, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, a 4-way for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match, what's the timestamp on this? Very curious. I didn't actually time it. 24 and a half minutes. 24 and a half minutes, and having everyone had their moment. Everyone had their moment, the BFT moment, where you thought, oh, I don't know, could he? Rollins pedigreeing Punk for a 2 count, and then the match resets. That kind of segment where someone hits a finish, you think they might have it, kick out, or somebody stops it and the match resets. That was very much the style that we expected and the match style that we got. And it's a match style that it delivered. I have to say, every multi-man main event that WWE has put on since WrestleMania has just incredibly delivered. I mean, think about the match at WrestleMania, right? For it wasn't for anything. It was for Pride at WrestleMania with Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Seth Rollins. That was incredibly well done. Incredible. And may have saved WrestleMania itself because of Night 2's main event that brought us into leaving us with a bad taste. But ever since then, I mean, WWE has continued to deliver in these multi-man main events. I'm not advocating for continuation of multi-man. I'm a big one-on-one proponent, but they have executed these multi-man main events exceedingly well. And some spots here. So let's talk about some spots. Rollins going up to the top. He attempts a Phoenix splash, and Jay moves and he super kicks Seth. And then he follows up with an Uso splash. Punk breaks up the pin attempt. He then lifted up Uso and hit a GTS, but Rollins broke up the pin attempt with a stomp. And then Punk kicked out at 2 9/8, or rather whatever, 8 9/8 or whatever. I'm not good at fractions. And then Rollins was BSing at Punk and grabbed a chair. Rollins gave Uso a stomp on the outside, gave a stomp to Knight on the outside, putting them completely out of commission. And then Rollins putting Punk's head inside of a chair, going for a stomp. Punk moved, hit Rollins with a GTS, and then Punk lifted Rollins again, and someone comes in and low blows Punk. Becky Lynch, as I mentioned at the top of the show. And that allows Rollins to stomp Punk on the chair and get the victory. So this was a really fun ending to the main event here. Again, you knew that Punk was going to not win. You knew that Jay had zero chance of winning. You thought that LA Knight, again, he doesn't seem to ever be in position to be a front runner here to win, but continues to be in the main event. I mean, that's the one thing about LA Knight. He's sticking around the main event, which is a good thing if you're an LA Knight fan. And he's proven he deserves to stay. He's done his part. He's been very good on the microphone, delivers in the ring. There is a case to be made to continue to have LA Knight in this position. Even, dare I say, at some point next year, maybe win the damn thing. But again, overall, did I think the show was outstanding? No. I thought the show was good. I'd give it a C+, B-. It didn't blow me away. There were no big returns. But not every show needs to have a big return. We are just spoiled as wrestling fans. I thought the show delivered on a wrestling perspective outside of maybe Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella, which wasn't horrific, but the botches spoil the whole feeling of the match because they were just so egregious. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I think the wrestling was solid, and C+ to B- is where I'd put this on my grade scale here. And it was about John Cena. It was about his continued retirement tour where he's going to be leaving in 3 months. And Cole continues to remind us, hey, enjoy this, soak it up, enjoy it. And I'm glad he's saying that because it's something that we need to be reminded of and grateful of, that we will never see John Cena compete ever again after mid-December. Ever. And that's kind of a crazy thing to say. we're still kind of thinking, oh, well, it's John Cena. It's still cool to hear him and see him. And sure, he'll come out for the Hall of Fame when he's inducted. And I don't know if we'll ever even see an AA again after mid-December. He said he's done. He'll never do it again. But I could see that changing. When John Cena's in the Hall of Fame and WWE officially inducts him and all the rest, I think there could be another AA on like a Raw reunion show or some kind of fun little face-off with him and another legend that, of course, isn't going to lead to a match. But I think there'll be something in John Cena's future after this that it's not going to be a match, but it could be like what Austin does, what The Rock does, or Undertaker does. He comes in, just does one move and leaves. So I think that'll happen. I don't believe that he'll never come back to do an AA or even cut a promo again. I don't buy it. So that said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what you guys thought about the event in Paris. If you attended live, let me know what your in-person thoughts are. You can send me the message, send me the email rather, and I will read it on air at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. I will gladly read your email if you have some thoughts on that. And I think that it'll certainly be welcome from an analysis perspective, because you never know. You never know what the in-person perspective was. And I'm interested to hear what it was if you did go. And if you did, I'm sure you're in love with my my thoughts about the crowd in France, which, again, is no shot at France itself or the culture there. It's just not. I'm not trying to placate to the outrage mob. I'm just telling you how it is. It's not my cup of tea. I prefer I prefer United States crowds. Sue me. Just like I'm sure you guys prefer the crowd that from the nation that you're from, the country that you're from. It's just kind of how it is as human beings. So that said, everybody, I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. If you want to go head over to Patreon and join us, you can do that because it provides everything ad-free. Patreon.com/WWE Podcast. You can also head over to Apple. We have a podcast feed right there, and join us there. Go ad-free there as well, and try us out before you buy it, because we've got a trial option as well. Now, this week, I'll be back on Tuesday for the Raw review, although maybe tomorrow night, given that Monday Night Raw is so damn early now, which I kind of like. I kind of like that the shows have been early, because then you can get to bed at a reasonable hour and you're not spending time up watching. And you can, if you have a content creation duty like I do and many other YouTubers and podcasters do, you can get that done and then go to bed, because Raw's on at like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Pretty crazy. So, all right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk in a couple days.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.